Hey everybody, my name is Jason Major 1978, and welcome to the Biblical Cinematic Universe. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Batman, the Dark Knight. Yes, I'm going to talk to you about Christian Bale, who played the Batman in the Dark Knight trilogy, and his addition to the biblical cinematic universe. Now, I know Christian Bale has done other movie roles, but if you know how that, I think he's best known for Batman at this point, and he's done other roles, and you can Google that, sure. But what I want to give you is the context of how he's been in the biblical cinematic universe, and he has done two roles so far. One was he played Jesus in Mary, Mother of Jesus, and the other one is Exodus, Gods and Kings, directed by Ridley Scott. So, I guess I could give you a brief overview of both. Mary, Mother Jesus, I don't have that film, so I'll be a little bit quicker with that one. He played that when he was very young. That was probably about 20 years ago. and in that movie, one of the things I did like about it was I thought comical was that his mother was played by the same mother who played Anakin Skywalker's mother in the Phantom Menace around the same time, and so it was like I bore him, I knew him, I don't know how it happened, and then it's like that was actually in Star Wars, and then in Mary Mother Jesus, I bore him, I gave him more, I don't know how it happened. I thought that was funny. So I want to talk mostly about how he played the role of Moses. There were strengths and weaknesses. Let's get into the weaknesses first. The weakness would be that his accent kind of changes throughout the story. So sometimes he's doing a British accent, sometimes doing like an American accent, something, I don't know what accent he's doing. It kind of changes throughout the story. But if you could get past that, I thought that he actually did a really good job with the role. One of the things that and another interesting fun fact for this movie is that Ben Kingsley is in this movie playing Joshua's father, Nun, Nun, who was one of the elders of the tribes of Israel. And Ben Kingsley had also played Moses in a previous movie in the 90s, made by Turner Entertainment. Much different Moses. Christian Bale's Moses is very different than Charlton Heston's, obviously, and many other Moses that gone before him. He is more of and this was portrayed even in Ten Commandments. His Moses is a military commander, so portrayed as a military commander throughout the movie, in the beginning of the movie. One thing they do differently that's from the Bible story is when he finds out that he is from the Jewish descent, the Hebrews, he's going into the small place to go hear from him, and two people are just kind of spying on him or something. I'm not really sure why but he attacks them and kills them in self-defense because they think he is a Hebrew out in the middle of the night or something. But I'm not really sure why, because since he was a prince of Egypt, he wouldn't have just said, "Hey guys, my name's Moses. I'm a prince of Egypt. I'm here on the Pharaoh's duty or something." Whereas in other films, what happened was that Moses was defending one of the Hebrews who was enslaved, and he was learning the ways of their slavery. So, taking out that context actually takes out an important part of the Moses character that's from the other films. So, in the other films, you had Charlton Heston and other Moseses who kind of say, "Oh, okay, well, now that I know I'm a slave," and he wants to learn why he has to be a slave. And because you don't have that, and you just have it being kind of like this self-defense thing, I don't think it was as powerful as if he was actually protecting someone from being hurt. That said, later on, and you still do have Moses communicating with the burning bush sequence. In the Ridley Scott's version, the burning bush includes a little boy who is supposed to be like the angel of the Lord, or the voice of the voice of the Lord, basically the voice for the Lord. That little boy is actually a messenger angel, or if you want to call it the angel of the Lord, as it's called in the Bible. And that's the way and that scene I thought was actually powerful and reflective, even though the dialogue obviously is very different from the Bible. The whole context of like, like I just like this idea of him saying like, I'm looking for a general, who are you? You know what I mean? That was kind of cool. And from that point on, it's important to know that Moses in this story starts more of an agnostic. He starts as someone who's like rejected the Egyptians' gods. He doesn't believe in the Egyptian gods. He doesn't really believe in a god at all. And it's not until he has this vision of the burning bush experience, and that God meets him then, that he starts on this journey for the rest of the movie, in which he is trying to understand. First of all, he understands that the slavery is bad, and he wants to go free all the slaves, and that's not just, that's not right. But on the other standpoint, he is trying to do it himself, and to me, that's the strength of this movie, is that journey that Moses has in the story, which is partly in, I believe, in the biblical narrative. This idea, because in the biblical narrative, obviously Moses did take up the sword to stop one Egyptian, to try and defend his Egyptian brother. So this idea of Moses grappling with his own strength versus God's strength, to me, was very fascinating. And I really do like that idea, because otherwise you do have Moses being too passive as a character, whereas this actually explains that tension that Moses has about being passive, and also his dynamic about in this story at least, that he's like, well, these Egyptians, I used to care about these Egyptians because I was an Egyptian, so he has some sympathy for what the Egyptians are going through, when it's really Pharaoh, is because of Pharaoh and Ramses that happened. There's an interesting line in dialogue when he fights Ramses, and Ramses like, the economic loan of like releasing the slaves, that was kind of interesting. And then there's a segment of the movie where, before the plagues really begin, where Moses, in his military strength, tries to take down Pharaoh. Not from the Bible, but it was a kind of an interesting idea of like Moses militarily trying to take down Pharaoh first, and then kind of getting to this point like, what do you want? And he starts yelling at God, like, okay, I can't do it, you gotta do it. And that, for me, is the journey of Christian Bale's Moses. By the time you get to the end of the story, where you get to, spoiler alert, the Red Sea, it is basically him being completely aware that it's not his strength, it is God's, and it's only God alone who could bring freedom to all these slaves. So, if you haven't seen Exodus, Gods and Kings, it is, I believe, a great action movie. I've reviewed it before on my channel, but Christian Bale's performance, I believe, is pretty good. I think that, yes, there are some weaknesses, but if you're looking for entertainment value, you are going to be entertained by Christian Bale's performance. It is a Ridley Scott movie. It is an action movie. You don't have to be very religious to enjoy it, I think. So go check out Christian Bale's version of Moses. And on a final note, it's kind of funny because he is not the first, but the second actor to play Moses, who had previously played Batman. The other actor, Val Kilmer. That'll be in another video. Thank you very much for watching the Biblical Cinematic Universe.